Hi, I'm Brianna.
And I'm Akira.
And you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
Brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
Hey yo, check this out, this is Flavor Flav, and if you want the whole truth, and nothing but the whole truth, so help the whole truth. Hey yo, you better listen to Dante, baby. Dante!
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another great edition of the Dante's Boxing Nation Show. I am your host, Dante, and we have another great show for you guys, as always. First things first, man, let me go ahead and introduce the man on the ones and twos, my man George over here. What's going on, man?
Not too much, my friend. Doing great.
All right. And let me go ahead and introduce the panel. As always, we got my man Eric Morales from Counterpunch. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel if you guys haven't already did it. It's Counterpunch. And once again, all this information will be in the description box, okay, guys? And we have my man Boxing Ego. Go to his website. He has a big boxing website that's really growing right now. It's boxingego.com. And I got my girl, Miss Boxing Baby. Check out her YouTube channel as well, Miss Boxing Baby. All right. Now, before we get into the boxing talk, as always, I want to say thank you guys for supporting us all. You know, the fact that you guys tune in, we really appreciate it. Once again, everyone that's donating to Dante's Boxing Nation, donating to Ego and Eric Morales, you know, we really, really appreciate it. Go ahead and check out my website as well. For boxing news is nationboxing.com. You guys can support, man, by buying some t-shirts, and a lot of you guys are asking for the hats. I'm gonna have the hats on there as well. All right, I'm gonna get the hats in all the different colors, the shirts in all different colors, and everything. So let's go ahead and get this stuff cracking, man. And I also have to plug once again the documentary that I'm working hard on, man. It's a real good documentary, boxing documentary coming out. It's going to be titled "Number One in the Nation." You know, so if you guys ever wondered where all of these Keith Thurmans, Sean Porters, Mayweathers, Oscar De La Hoyas, you know, come from, they come from these tournaments that you know, I'm documenting right now. All right, so that'll be out probably in the next, I don't know, 3 weeks or something like that, but I'm putting a lot of work into it. So with that out the way, let's get into some boxing talk, guys. So, you know, we had a good weekend, man, a lot of boxing, and I want to try to talk about all the boxing. We just had somebody else. Is that Miss Boxing Baby?
Yes.
What's going on? Welcome to the show. That's Miss Boxing Baby in the building now. So, you know, you called in right on time. But anyway, like I said, there was a lot of fights this past weekend. You had Jessie Vargas pulling off a minor upset over Saddam Ali. You had King Kong Luis Ortiz against Tony Thompson. You know, you had they're calling him right now the White Mike Tyson, Khursidze, who knocked out an undefeated, really good prospect in Ortiz-Douglas. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to even talk a little bit about maybe Conor McGregor losing to Nate Diaz. And the only reason we're going to talk about that is because of the you know, the synonymous connection that he had with Floyd Mayweather. So, you know, we'll talk about that. So don't worry, we ain't turning this into no UFC channel or nothing like that. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this stuff. Before we talk about what actually took place this weekend, I want to say last week, you know, we had a really good debate. We talked about the Terrence Crawford situation, who he should fight next, and my man Eric Morales, you know, became somewhat of a celebrity overnight, man. So I want to say congratulations to Eric Morales. That's what that is. But anyway, you know, Eric, what was your take, man, on the type of debate we had and the reception and everything?
I would, as I said earlier before, I don't think it was celebrity. I think it was infamy that I reached, and it was fun to see that many responses and see the passion from the boxing fans and their responses. Did they call me out on me fudging a few facts on Super Tuesday? Yes, they did, and I loved them for it. It was excellent. It was excellent. I really appreciated everything that went on. I love being called out when I'm wrong. So it was wonderful. I know from now on, everything's going to be by the Google machine to make sure I say my facts are right. So I'm going to try my best to be near one too, but I can't promise it because my internet goes out every once in a while. But that's besides the point. But I thought it was an excellent debate. I thought it was great. You showed passion. I thought both you and Eagle, I thought y'all came real strong. I thought y'all supported the facts. It was a little surprising that it seemed like y'all gave Provodnikov, a little more credit than I'm used to seeing. But, it is what it is. Some people definitely feel strongly about whether or not he has a chance. Unfortunately, I just didn't.
Yeah, and once again, and I don't want to, fill up the whole hour because you baiting me in right now. You almost pulled me in with that one. But I will say, shouts out to NW Boxing. He actually did a video in response to the debate that we had last week. And speaking of Provodnikov, we giving him too much credit. It's not just us giving us credit; it's the whole boxing industry. Because as I told you earlier before the show, Eric, that and NW was one of the first people that pointed it out that Provodnikov is actually ranked number 3 by 3 of the top 3. And 3 of the main organizations in boxing. So, and one of those is Ring Magazine, so that rates him number 3 in the world. And that's over a lot of fighters on top, like fighters like Adrian Broner. I want to, talk more about that, but we will go ahead and talk about the news this past weekend, which is all the fights. So let's go ahead and start off, man, before we get sidetracked. Let's start with Jessie Vargas, man. Jessie Vargas, we all picked Saddam Ali to basically win this fight, thinking that he was the slicker fighter. He was maybe the smarter fighter. And to our surprise, Jessie Vargas, he pulled off the minor upset. All right, Boxing Ego, man. So what did you think about Jessie Vargas pulling off the minor upset against Saddam Ali?
I thought he looked good. I was worried about him. I actually put on my Instagram. I was worried because, to me, Jessie Vargas is constantly changing trainers. I thought he looked good with Roy in the DeMarco fight. And then for the Bradley fight, which was a big fight at the time, he switched to Eric Morales. And then I thought they gelled. And, even though he didn't look great in the fight, I thought he liked the connection. And then he switched to another trainer, Dewey Cooper. So I was worried about him, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Plus, 147 is a newer division for him. I think he's fought there a couple of times. But he's, for the most part, a career 140-pounder. So I was impressed with Vargas that switching trainers had no effect on him. Saddam Ali, a former Olympian, and he went in there and handled business. And even I knew he could beat Saddam Ali possibly, even though I thought Saddam Ali would win, but I didn't think it would be by stoppage because I didn't know where his power was at 47. So the fact that he not only beat him, knocked him down and stopped him, excellent performance. He got the vacant belt, and, he made some noise. He made a splash, so hats off to him.
And and it's crazy too, Ego, because when I was watching the fight, I was looking at that hard, stiff jab and the right hands that Jessie Vargas was throwing, and I always forget that this dude, he doesn't have that many knockouts. And I was saying, man, even though he doesn't have that many knockouts, he looked like he's punching hard. But even before this fight, I thought that way, So I think sometimes people not having a lot of knockouts on their record, sometimes that can be deceptive. Sometimes these guys, they just, for whatever reason, not getting the knockouts. But he looked strong, I thought, throughout the fight.
Yeah.
And I ain't going to...
And sometimes people, he looks like he has a good size frame to move up. Like, he looks pretty tall and whatnot. Sometimes the people have to kill themselves a little bit to make weight. Their punching power and their energy is taken down as they cut so much weight. So maybe this is, at this point of his career and his age, maybe 47 is a better fit for him, and he feels better. He can make, because he looked pretty good at the weigh-in. I had a dude, shout out to my dude Bakari, he was covering the event, and he looked good in the weigh-in, looked sliced. So he's probably comfortable now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eric, what do you think about Bob Arum actually saying that after this fight he wants to actually now work with Al Heyman? Do you believe him? He said he wants to make fights like Vargas versus Diaz, or not Diaz, Garcia. He wants to make Vargas versus Garcia. He wants to make Broner versus Crawford. Is this basically the end of the Cold War, or what do you think, man? Is Arum just feeling the pressure that he's running out of opponents for his fighters? What do you think, Eric? Eric.
I don't know if he's there.
Yeah, he was just there.
What do you think, Miss Boxing Baby?
Can you hear me?
There you go,
Hello.
Eric. Eric,
My fault. My phone's messing up, man. Anyway, as I said, I hope he's telling the truth, but I think everything you said is true. I think the pressure, as far as finding opponents for his fighter, I think he's definitely sees the spotlight that the PBC is getting amongst their fighters and how they're becoming more recognizable. So I think he sees a lot of potential in matching his fighters there. And plus, he has a stud in Crawford who is going to match up fairly well against most of the other guys. I'm not saying he could just go out there and wipe everyone out, but he could do pretty good against them. So I would definitely love to see those matchups. I hope he's being genuine in this, or not genuine. I hope he's being sincere in this, but I don't know if he is or isn't. So we have to see. With Bob Arum, man, he always has a trick up his sleeve, and he has a way to get people to talk.
Yeah, well, yeah, he does, because 1 minute he says that, and then the next day he'll say something completely different. Like I said before, he has said that he wanted to make Crawford versus Pacquiao, and then the very next day he said, I want to make Pacquiao or Crawford versus Marquez. So, we just really never know, but Ms.
Speaking of, not to call anybody out, but I just had to say this too, since you said what you just said, Dante, is one thing that I was hearing from the top-ranked side, Bob Arum, Pacquiao side, was that they didn't want to make Pacquiao versus Amir Khan because HBO didn't want Khan, but now they're making Canelo versus Khan.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Why would HBO not want Pacquiao versus Khan, which most people would probably consider at this point more of a fair match, in terms of the size and their old sparring partners. But HBO didn't want that, but they wanted Canelo versus Amir Khan, which a lot of people are calling a mismatch. So you never really know.
Which kind of does.
They don't really want Canelo versus Amir Khan. What they want is a future super fight between Triple G and Canelo. So they had to find the best opponent that he'll look good against and easily win. They don't really want to see that fight, but they had to do it. Because they have to be sure that they're going to get Triple G and Canelo in the future. That's what that fight is for.
Yeah, but once again, I agree with that. I mean, that makes sense, but the only thing is that's what HBO, I think, they want that. But I don't think that Canelo wants it. I mean, from what he's saying, he's still saying that GG has to come down to 155, and he's saying, that fight has to build up, and it wouldn't probably be to next year, and he just keeps saying.
And see, and the other thing I don't like is that they're saying, talking about all the super fights that took forever. Oh, Canelo versus Cotto took 3 years. Pacquiao, Mayweather took 5 years. That's not a good thing. We didn't, as fans, we didn't want to wait 3 to 5 years for those fights. It just, that's what
that wasn't by design. Yeah, that was not by design. It was a lot of negotiating and, disagreements especially the Manny Pacquiao situation. You can't even compare that. I already told you guys, I have the interview. I was there when Freddie Roach said it. Freddie Roach said out of his own mouth, it was our fault that the first fight didn't happen in 2008 because of the drug test, because we didn't want to take it. This is what Freddie Roach said out of his own mouth. So once again,
he didn't want to take that drug test, Dante.
He didn't want to take it, and
you didn't want to take it. You were in the fight.
What's up?
I said you personally didn't want to take the drug test. You were on it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm lost. What you say?
Nothing. I was just making a joke.
Oh, okay. All right. But anyway, man, the point is that everybody wants to see the fight right now. And when you have the media, and everybody else basically asking Canelo Alvarez, you said you were going to fight Golovkin next. Why are you not fighting him? That tells me that everybody is ready for the fight. Because if it wasn't that big, kind of like, once again, going back to fighters on the coincidental list, you notice nobody in the media, they say Canelo, why are you not fighting Demetrius Andrade? Why are you not fighting the Charlo brothers? You know what I mean? So if they're actually saying, why are you not fighting Golovkin, is because the main media, they feel that that's a big fight. So, we'll see.
Why asking Golovkin why he's not fighting Canelo? Why is all the blame on Canelo? I'm not understanding that. Why?
Well, all the blame is on Canelo because Golovkin is ready to fight at 160, and Canelo is saying Canelo just won the belt at 160, and he doesn't want to fight at 160. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a contradiction, wouldn't you say?
I agree.
I don't know. I just feel like, to me, we can talk about this till we blue in the face. And 3 years from now, we'll still be wanting the same. We're still going to want that fight. Whether it happened this year, next year, you're still going to want it.
You know
the
what?
hype is not going behind that fight.
You do have.
That's boxing.
You do have somewhat of a good point though, Ms. Boxing Baby. I guess if you kind of look at the fact that Golovkin once again he was calling out Floyd Mayweather and and these type of fighters, but see, this is my whole thing. If that's the case, why don't they just meet in the middle? Why don't they meet 157, or 156 or something like that? But this is where I question if Canelo wants to fight, because you notice Canelo has never budged on that. Canelo has never said, well, if we're going to fight, it's going to have to be somewhere in between and this and that, But then again, Canelo, he has Golovkin, he hasn't proposed that offer either, that they could just
He wants to fight, but just like every other boxer, he wants it where he has the advantage. That's boxing. I can't name one boxer who doesn't want the advantage. That's what boxing is about. He does want to fight, but he still wants to make sure he has the advantage.
Who wants the advantage?
Canelo. That's why he wants to fight at 155. I can't say because he don't want to fight. He wants to fight, but he want to make sure that he has the upper hand. And that's boxing. That's not just him. That's anybody in boxing. You want to make sure you have the upper hand, he has the advantage, and he wants to fight at 155. But my thing is this, though. Why is it hard for Triple G to make 155 when he called Floyd out and said he would literally come down to 154? So now you can't make 155?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, that's true. He only wants, and so in a way they both want an advantage, because that means that Golovkin only wanted to fight Mayweather because he felt Mayweather was so damn small. He's not a threat, at least power-wise. He's looking at Mayweather as not a threat. But obviously he must be looking at Canelo as some type of threat to say, it only has to be at 160. So, yeah, I guess in a certain sense you could say both of them, could be blamed partially, but I would still say Canelo, he takes a little bit more of the blame, just because once again, when you win a title at the middleweight division, it's kind of hard to keep that belt and say, if you want to fight me, you got to come down. So whatever.
Cotto did it.
Yeah, and the other thing is,
Cotto did do it.
I think the other thing is this. I agree with what you guys are saying. Like, Triple G, he didn't want no parts of Ward. He wanted him to come down to 64, but he didn't want Francis Chavez to do it. So I agree with that. But we're talking about Canelo and Triple G, that particular equation. And for me, I think the Canelo side has come up with more, like between De La Hoya, Team Canelo, the Reynoso brothers, they've come up with more reasons as to, the fight got to marinate for 2 years. It has to be at the Canelo weight. This and that. So when we're talking about that particular fight only, Canelo and Triple G seems to have won it more. I'm not behind closed doors, but he seems to won it with less stipulations than the Canelo side.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And that's,
I agree with the Mayweather. He shouldn't have even said that. But when we're talking about Canelo and Triple G specifically, I think I heard less from Tom Loeffler and Triple G stating they won't take the fight. The only thing I heard they won't do is come down below 160.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a linear
I guess the fight won't ever be made then, because Canelo's not going to.
Well, yeah. Bingo. You said it. I don't think the fight.
Either they meet in the middle, or the fight just won't happen. That's just that. I mean, that's the only way it's going to be. Either meet in the middle at 157, or it just won't happen. You can say the same thing. Why does he have to come up to 160? Why does he have to go down to 155? You can ask that question on both sides, not just blaming on Canelo. So meet in the middle.
Yeah.
That's
in the middle, so I'm okay if it's at 57, 58. I think 55 is a little bit.
I mean, Cotto did it.
Yeah.
59 though.
Yeah.
He fought Sergio at 59, and he was a small dude.
59. Yeah, it was only 1 pound.
He made that clear that he was not going to be at 160. And Martinez was a champion. He was a champion.
But Cotto's also has more decorated wins than probably both of them.
Whether he got more decorated wins or not, the bottom line is he did it. He did it against Daniel Beal at 157.
So if that's the case,
look at Cotto's resume and his star power and what he's giving to the sport.
Not only that, but if we're going off of that logic, then if that's the case, then why doesn't Canelo do what Cotto did and fight at 159? You know what I mean? Because Cotto is smaller. Cotto is smaller than Canelo, and he went all the way up to 159. So why doesn't Golovkin? Why doesn't
tiny?
Oh yeah. He's
or they can fight at 157.
No, but I'm just saying. Well, no, I only say that because you said Cotto did it. So I'm saying if you saying Cotto did it, then why don't Canelo do what Cotto did? That's what I'm saying.
Canelo is the champion, so he don't have to do that. He don't have to go to one. He's the champion.
Yeah,
but
he's
the WBC right now.
He's a champion at the middleweight.
He is. So at the end of the day, the thing is, he's not going up Triple G's not going down. I can't put the full blame on Canelo because it's not right. They both are saying the same thing. I'm not coming to you, and I'm not coming to you. So either you meet in the middle or the fight don't happen.
Yeah.
Sergio Martinez was a champion, but Cotto was the A side, and he still came up.
We ain't talking about Martinez now. We talking about
but you said
Canelo.
the champion. But you said he's a champion. Sergio Martinez was a champion.
And this is what it is. Either it's going to be 157, or it's not going to be at 160. He's not coming up to 160. He's not doing it. He's not coming to 155. So you meet in the middle. But all the blame is that's not right. That's not right.
If I may interject.
I want to say.
Go ahead,
Eric. I just had to say real quick. I think another reason why Canelo gets a lot of flack is because most people see his size, see how big he looks next to Cotto when he's looking like Super Shredder, and they know he can clearly make 160. Versus Mayweather, we know Mayweather is not that big. Pacquiao, he's not that big. Them guys don't rehydrate in the 170s. And if they did, I don't remember the fight.
But then he can make 155 because he was good.
But I think when we look at Canelo, we look at him as a young, strong kid who can clearly be fighting at 160 based on his mass. Look, he has no neck. He has that Pitbull Tyson type of frame. So I think that's why he gets a lot more pressure because people know he can clearly move up with his frame.
He's never going to move up to 160. He just won the belt in November. Who's to say he's never going to move up to 160? I'm not putting the blame on anybody. All I'm saying is it's just not right to me that all the blame is shifted toward him.
Listen.
We acting like Triple G got this. We acting like Triple G got this stellar behind resume. Because at the end of the day, you look at the resume. To me, it's no comparison. That's just my opinion.
Listen.
But that's the way people act. Like it's all on Canelo. I don't think that's right.
Before we move on, let me just say this. I believe the only way they're going to fight against each other is if Golovkin ends up looking horrible against another opponent.
There it is, Dante.
Yeah, he has
That's
to.
why I'm rooting for Wade.
Yeah.
It's Dominic Wade. I can tell you that right now. He's going to whitewash him. So that's going to be the opponent.
Like I said, I don't know if we can even say that. We don't know anything about Wade. We don't know nothing about him.
I've seen Wade fight. I know who he is. I've seen him fight. He's going to please.
So you predicted the knockout?
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I've seen a lot of Antoine Douglas.
That fight is just like Conor Canelo.
Yeah, Postal Matisse. Matisse was supposed to be Postal. I mean, you know.
They wouldn't have picked this dude. They wouldn't have picked this dude. They thought he was a threat. That fight is just like Conor Canelo. It's the warm up.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's not the best. Listen, it's not the best fight. No doubt about it. Golovkin, could have fought better at competition, but I wouldn't go so far as to say it's Canelo Khan. At least he's fighting against a middleweight.
He's fighting someone in his division. At least fighting someone in his division and a mandatory.
I'm not talking about the size. I'm not talking about the size. I mean, the fight that basically is a total impact. He's going to whitewash him.
Okay, so you don't see it being competitive at all. I mean, let's compare it to the Willie Monroe fight. Do you think he'll do at least as good as Willie Monroe did?
He might be able to outbox him or do something like that, but I don't even see that last because at the end of the day, you can't beat Triple G by outboxing him. You have to have something to keep him off your ass with.
No, but Wade is aggressive.
Wade has nothing to keep him off his ass.
But Wade,
no, you cannot.
But Wade is an aggressive fighter. Wade is an aggressive fighder, though. He's not really a boxer, Willie was being aggressive too, but at the end of the day, if you don't respect your power, he's gonna walk right through you. Monroe had no power. I mean, Wade has knockouts. Wade does have knockouts. Monroe had no knockouts. So
Wade knocked Sean Porter down at 165 in the amateurs the first round. And Sean Porter's durable and tough.
That is very informative. With headgear.
Comparing that right now to the pros, you comparing Sean Porter in the amateurs to Triple G in the pros.
We just talking about power. We only talking about power. We only talking about power. Power don't change, amateur or pro. Power don't change. I'm
telling you now, that's right. It's just like Canelo and Khan. It's the warm up to the big dog. I'm not saying nobody with the gloves don't have a chance, but at the end of the day, we know what's going to happen in that fight. Because if they thought it was something else, they wouldn't have picked him.
Well, you making me want to see it. You making me want to see it even more now. And I tell you that, boxing baby.
I'm doing my job.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for. We promoting the fights. So let's go ahead and move on.
And Dante,
go ahead.
I still think
Ortiz.
There's certain things. There's questions about Triple G. He's decorated. He's very good, but you never know. Somebody out the woodwork, like when you're plowing through people. Somebody might come out like a Granados and a Amir Mom, and I don't think that would happen. Clearly, the money bet is Triple G.
Yeah.
So I still think there's questions about Triple G, which is my point. I still have questions about him
as
a fighter. So
I don't think Dominique Reyes gonna answer my questions though. He's not gonna be the one to answer them.
We gonna see.
I just don't think he's gonna answer them though. There's no disrespect to him. No disrespect at all. He's a fighter. I respect him. Yeah. But I don't think he's gonna want to answer those questions that night.
Yeah. Well, so what do you? Well, let me ask you real quick. I was about to lead lead the topic, the subject, but I got to ask you real quick, Miss Boxing Baby. What do you think about Wade saying there's nothing special? He sees nothing special within Golovkin. What do you think about him saying that?
Oh, I totally agree. I don't think he's real special either. I think a lot of his defense is his offense, and he relies a lot on his power. I agree with him on that. But if you're asking me today, is Wade going to be the one to go out there and exploit that and win? No, I don't. And I think they knew this in picking him, because you're not going to pick a risk before a big money fight.
Oh, well, yeah.
Big money.
No doubt about it.
Do that. They're always talking about. So, I mean, I agree with Wade. I totally agree. No special effects like Mayweather said. No, he doesn't have any of that. But at the end of the day, that's not going to be the one to do anything about it. Not him.
Okay, that's what it is. So let's go ahead and move on. We'll be talking a lot more about that leading up to the fight. So I want to talk about this Luis Ortiz knockout over Tony Thompson. Once again, Luis Ortiz, he looked pretty impressive. I mean, it was a durable experience, Tony Thompson in the ring. Some people were saying, how come he didn't knock him out in one round? You guys have to understand that this guy, he went a lot longer with Vladimir Klitschko. In fact, in the first fight, he almost beat Vladimir Klitschko. So in comparison, this is another opponent that Luis Ortiz basically, you could say he ran over compared to Vladimir Klitschko. He did it with Brian Jennings. Vladimir Klitschko couldn't knock out Brian Jennings, and Luis Ortiz did it. He knocked both of these guys out within 6 rounds. So I thought it was pretty impressive. I want to ask you guys what you think about the fact that Berman Stavern, Alexander Ustinov, and Andy Ruiz, that one kind of shocked me, that all of these fighters have turned down an opportunity to fight against King Kong. Let's start with you, Eric, since you've been out of the loop for a minute. What do you think about that? Is he the boogeyman of the division now, or what?
He's getting there. I'll tell you what, he is convincing me every fight just how good he is. His fundamentals are sound. I know he smothered himself a few times in some of those rounds where he got too excited and tried to go for the knockout, but he's just a very good fighter. I think he is one to watch, and I think he is one that we may see fighters like Tyson Fury may not want to fight. I think we may see fighters, whoever wins the Charles Martin, Anthony Joshua matchup may not want to match up with this guy quite yet either, because he's a beast. Now, he's a little short. He's only 6'4", comparable to the usual 6'6", 6'7" guys. But when you look at his, I believe he has over an 80-inch reach as well. So when you look at this guy, I mean, he has a lot of the tools, and he's a lefty to really do damage in this division. It was just beautiful. The only thing about him, the only thing that I would say is going to be a hindrance for him is going to be that no one is going to want to fight him, and I really see that happening. No one's going to want to get in the ring with this guy because he's too risky. I think they did something like close to 800,000 on their doubleheader over HBO. I could be wrong. Let's check Google. As a matter of fact, it was 7,400 or something around that nature. So it was a pretty good showing. It wasn't a million, but still a very good showing. So we know this guy is watchable. Now, will the champions line up to fight him? We'll see.
Yeah, and Golden Boy, they trying to use him as the backup plan for, Canelo, just in case, they have an accident with Canelo. But I think they can really.
That's a great point. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dante.
No, go ahead. It's cool. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's a great point. Right now, it seems, and I know it seems, Canelo doesn't want to fight at middleweight. He wants to, and I understand the sentiment. And trust me, I'm old school. I agree with it. I think he should step up to 160 or get rid of the belt. However, I understand today's boxing is much different than it was when I was around. It's not the same game anymore. It's different. Now it's about notoriety. It's about press. It's about being famous. And so, even though we don't like it, it is what it is. So I don't knock him for the fight. We make fun of the comments and all that, but it is what it is. But in all actuality, they may have a bigger star in Luis Ortiz. Everyone knows the heavyweight division is the cream division. That sounded weird. Let me rephrase that. Everyone knows the heavyweight division is the best division, as far as, historically. So he could have messed up and ended up getting a star and not even know it.
Yeah. There used to be a time, they say, when the heavyweight champion was more known than the president, and he had, just as much respect as the president, of the country. So, yeah, the heavyweight.
Now, I like Canelo, and I think he's a star.
Mm-hmm.
But Luis Ortiz might be something special too.
Yeah, oh, no doubt about it. Like you said, it's it's the heavyweight division. You get knockouts, so that's just what it is. But once again,
where would you put him in the ranking?
In the rankings right now?
Like, in the ranking, how he jumped up high after this one. And the one thing I will say about Tony Thompson, have you ever seen a guy look more relaxed when he gets knocked down? It's unbelievable. But
all the time.
The one thing,
that's hilarious. It's true.
But where do you read? To me, he jumped up to number 4, maybe number 3. I got Fury and Wilder pretty much 1 and 2. I got Klitschko, and then after that, I'm going to come down to probably King Kong Ortiz.
I would have to totally agree with how you broke that down. I would have to totally agree. And after that, I'll probably have, believe it or not, I still have Charles Martin up pretty high up there. And, and of course, Anthony Joshua. You could flip them back and forth which way. But, yeah, that's pretty much how I would have it. But, yeah, but eventually, the heavyweight division, to me, it's a little bit more hard to avoid certain fighters. I think there's more of a spotlight on these fighters than it is when it comes to, fighters the welterweight division. So eventually these guys, they won't be able to turn the fight down. And what's funny is, or not funny, but Brian Jennings, he actually turned down the fight before he took the fight. And then he goes in there, he takes the fight, he gets knocked out. So, that's pretty discouraging to the other heavyweights who, have already been reluctant, when it comes to getting in the ring with King Kong as well. Like I said, I would have really loved to have seen King Kong against Berman Stavern and Andy Ruiz. I've been telling people that Andy Ruiz, skill-wise, he's one of the most skilled heavyweights there are. He reminds me, not saying he's as good, I don't know if he is, but he reminds me of a Luis Ortiz because you could see the amateur pedigree with fighters like Andy Ruiz. He throws a lot of punches. He fights almost more like a middleweight than a heavyweight, even though he's, overweight or whatnot. So we'll see. But the heavyweight division is really heating up right now.
It's back.
Yeah,
it's back.
It definitely is, man. And also, so let's go ahead real quick. And I want to talk about the Conor McGregor situation. And once again, I only want to talk about this because he basically made his name in a certain way. He made his name. Him and Ronda Rousey, they kind of almost made their name off of Floyd Mayweather. Let's just say, Floyd Mayweather played a part. So this is my whole thing, and now a lot of people are he just lost, by way of submission, to Nate Diaz. We were talking about underdogs, just like when we were talking about Dominic Wade. This was another case where a guy who wasn't supposed to win actually won this fight. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because people are now trying to make excuses and saying, well, he fought a bigger guy and this. But remember, Conor kept trying to compare himself to Floyd Mayweather. He was saying, I can fight it any way. I can make up my own weight. It don't matter. It's all about the skill, so on and so forth. Floyd Mayweather, he moved up 5 weight classes, and he dominated guys that were 15, 20 pounds bigger than him. Conor, and Boxing Eagle, I'm going to let you talk about this, but I thought it was interesting because Conor, he says something that I'm always going to remember because, it confirms everything that I've been telling you guys. Conor McGregor, he basically said, man, when I was hitting Diaz, usually guys go when I hit them with those kind of punches, but I was hitting him and he wasn't going nowhere. He was basically talking about the size difference. So the point that I'm making is it sounds to me like he really didn't have a plan B, which is if he can't rely on those power shots to get these guys out, he doesn't know what to do after that. And that's the difference when it comes to like a Floyd Mayweather. With Floyd Mayweather, all the guys he's in the ring with, he hits them and they keep coming because they're bigger than he is. But he still dominates because he's not relying on just his power. He's relying on his intelligence and skill. So, what do you think about the contrast, Boxing Eagle, in that fight this past weekend?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The bottom line is, like, guys like Floyd Mayweather, they're able to fight bigger men, 15, 20, 25 pounds, whatever it is, bigger based on their skill. That's why he moved up. That's why he's able to fight at welterweight. I already said it earlier in this video or in this radio show. Mayweather and Pacquiao, they're not the biggest guys, but Mayweather's able to fight the Maidanas of the world, the Canelos based on skill. And Conor McGregor, he bit off more than he could chew. He tried to jump up all these weight, started feeling that Ronda Rousey aura of invincibility. Like, I can do whatever. Last minute notice, who cares? I can make my own belt. And then you got in there with somebody who's durable from a rough place. I'm out here in Northern California. Shout out to Stockton. It's rough out there. A lot of gangs, a lot of stuff. He comes from that background, and he wasn't going to go. Like you said, he wasn't. One punch is not going to alto him and just do away with him. His face was leaking, bleeding through his eye, all in his eyes, probably swallowing blood and not being able to see perfect vision, but he's tough, he's durable. And guys like that, it's kind of like Donaire. Donaire is a skilled fighter from out here too, but when you're used to having that power advantage and your power getting you through, then sometimes guys don't work on adjusting. They don't care because power solves the problem each and every time. So when you face somebody who's not going to go away, it's discouraging. That's why I want to see Gennady Golovkin face somebody who I think is a certified threat with his style, because I want to make those adjustments necessary where power is not going to cut it. Like, you're not going to just bum rush me and then power me to death and then I'm out.
There's some static. Real quick, Ego, I'm just letting I don't know who it is, but I'm hearing some static in the background in the TV. So if you guys could kind of mute that. But anyway,
like you look at Floyd versus Maidana. Maidana's been through the ringer. He's been in there with Eric Morales. He got dropped by a vicious, perfect body shot by Amir Khan. Very first round when Khan was fresh. What did he do? He got back up, kept fighting his fight, and gave Amir Khan hell in the late rounds. That's why we need to see the Conor McGregors, the guys like Triple G that are supposed to be the next. We got to see them in these types of fights with those types of challengers to see what they're really made of. I've seen Floyd Mayweather have struggles with Zab Judah early and have to make adjustments. Have struggles with Shane Mosley when he was almost knocked out. You know what I mean? Hurt twice. And he arguably won the rest of the round when he got hurt in round 2. Yeah. So people always say it's you hate Triple G, you hate this fighter. I don't hate him. If they're as good as advertised, let's see that. Let's see them make those adjustments, and I'll be satisfied. I'll be like, hey, it's Triple G's time. It's whoever's time. So Conor McGregor, back to him, bit off more than he could chew, started feeling invincible. He was in there with someone tough. He'll probably drop back down. And it's different. Like I said, Donaire, when he fought Rigondeaux, the power only wasn't going to cut it. You were going to have to make some adjustments. And sometimes when you're reliant on power, you fail to remember those things.
And Ego, touch on what you said to me earlier as well. When people talk about the jump up, 2 weight classes, you were talking about how Diaz actually fights at 150 or what is it? A lot of people keep saying this 170. It was contracted at 170 based on it being the fact that Diaz had no camp. He doesn't normally fight at 170. He's not 170 pounds. Because people keep saying, oh, that's like Mayweather jumping up to fight Kovalev and all that. It's a different sport, different discipline, and Nate Diaz doesn't fight at 170. It was contracted at that because he didn't have a training camp. So you're not going to force a guy in 10 days to lose a gang of weight when he wasn't even training for a fight. He normally fights at 155. So that needs to be cleared up because people keep saying, that's like Mayweather fighting Ward and Kovalev. No, it's not. It's not like that.
People comparing these UFC fighters to Mayweather. When did that start? Did I miss something? Why do they keep doing it?
That's the new EA jinx. That's the new EA jinx. If you mention Mayweather's name, you lose.
Definitely.
Stop doing it. But see, now Mayweather's 2 for 2. They keep doing it. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
He's not even a fighter. He's a boxer. Like, why do they keep doing it?
Dante, the last thing I want to say, too, is the fact that Conor McGregor, I told people for a while, he's a big dude. His walk-around weight, I guarantee you, is higher than a Mayweather.
Oh, so, way higher, right?
Yeah, the dude's wide, his back, his chest. He's a built dude. He's big. He crunches down, cuts massive weight to get into those little divisions. So comparing Mayweather jumping up to fight Kovalev makes no sense for that reason because Conor, even though they're about the same height, Conor is clearly bigger walking around.
All I know is he talked a lot of shit, and when the devil Mayweather, they would shoot his ass. He talked a lot of shit, and they said nothing. I don't know anything else about how he fights. I don't watch the UFC and whatever it is. But
I don't watch it a whole lot myself. I catch some of the big fights, but just like Eric said, he caught the Mayweather jinx. Everybody who talks shit about Mayweather, they end up getting knocked out within the next 6 months. or beat up. So that once again,
it's a growing trend. You're starting to see it more and more now. I would love to ruffle the UFC guys' feathers, but they are, they're a little weird. So I'm not gonna do that. But I normally don't watch UFC. I don't really particularly like it. But I have to admit that was a fun fight to watch the other night. That was definitely very entertaining.
Yeah, and that's why we're talking a little bit about it on the boxing forum, But let's go ahead and move on real quick. I want to talk because we talked about or Ego, you just touched on it. You talked about Golovkin, comparing him to this situation, saying this is why we want to see him fight against bigger guys, strong guys, and see how he deals with adversity. What is he going to do when he hits a guy and the guy keeps coming forward? Because we've seen what happened with Conor McGregor. We also seen what happened with fighters like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and Nonito Donaire against Nicholas Walters. So we haven't seen that dimension when it comes to Golovkin. And that brings me to another fight that I've seen this past weekend. And this is the type of opponent I want to see Golovkin in the ring with. And that's this guy by the name of Avtandel Khursidze. They're calling him the White Mike Tyson, and the reason why they're calling him the White Mike Tyson is because this guy, admires Mike Tyson. This guy, he literally came in there with Mike Tyson's whole garb. He had the black trunks, he had the black shoes with no socks. He was fighting or trying to fight exactly like Mike Tyson. Now he doesn't have the speed, the basic instincts, and the reflexes of a Mike Tyson, but he's a good knockoff, put it that way. And he beat, a very good undefeated fighter, Antoine Douglas. And Antoine Douglas, got to give him a lot of credit because he put on a hell of a fight. It was a really, really good fight. But this dude, Khursidze, he put so much pressure on Antoine Douglas, that Antoine Douglas, he was forced to dig really, really deep. He knocked him down a couple times. And if you guys don't know too much about Antoine Douglas, he has a great amateur pedigree. Matter of fact, he's in the same stable as Shakur Stevenson. Shouts out to Shakur Stevenson, who's going to the Olympics. You may have seen him sparring on my channel with Devin Haney. But bottom line is, this is the type of opponent I want to see Golovkin in the ring with. I want to see how he deals with a guy that's going to be on his ass all night, like white on rice. How is he going to deal with that type of pressure? And a guy who's strong, aggressive, will just keep coming. So I would love to see, someone like this fight against Golovkin is the point that I was making. So that was a really good fight. It was a really good fight. And you guys didn't get, I don't know if you guys checked that fight out, right? Yeah, you guys. Yeah, you guys didn't see it. Oh, you did.
I like Antoine Douglas though. I went to one of his fights. He's a pretty good guy, good fighter. That way, somebody was tough. But I heard it was a good fight though, back and forth action.
Yeah, he's really young too. He's
young, so he can come back from that loss.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk real quick. We got 2 minutes left. Boxing Eagle, you've been talking about it a lot. The weight, the bulk up of Amir Khan against Canelo Alvarez. A lot of people have been talking about that bulk up, or him bulking up, for that fight. Some people are saying that now Khan has a better chance. He looks bigger almost than Canelo, and then a lot of people saying that he's just and then you have people like you were saying, Shane Mosley, who was saying that he's putting on too much weight. So you think that that's actually going to hurt him in the long run, right, Boxing Ego?
Well, it depends on how you do it. That's my biggest thing. Cutting weight, going up in weight, is a process, and you have to do it the right way. Like there's a couple things against Amir Khan right now. One, a lot of people question, does he have a shaky chin in the lower division? Two, he's been on a layoff since the Algieri fight, so he's been on a long layoff. So it's not just merely about jumping up in weight, because if you remember Josito Lopez when he fought Canelo, he looked real soft at the weigh-in. Because he jumped, he's a career 140-pounder, fought Victor Ortiz at 47, and then got the opportunity for Canelo. And it's like he just was eating to, to gain the weight. So you got to do it the right way. It's a crucial process. You don't want to miss any steps. Khan, in his little green screen promo for HBO, he looked a bit soft to me. But he still has plenty of time. The fight's not till May. But the thing is with me, Khan, for him to have any shot to win, his speed has to be there. His explosiveness, his speed, and his footwork, it has to be there. So if he loses that by bulking up, like Shane Mosley was saying, by putting on too much size, or not even just putting on the size, but you have to be able to go 12 rounds with that size, with the added size.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just like getting into a pool underwater, your weight feels different. So some people can't fight and carry that weight. So it just depends on how he's going to look with the added weight, but he needs that speed.
I think it's going to make him get knocked out faster, for one, because he never fought it. I do. Sorry. But for one, I'm not questioning his chin. He does not have one. There's no question. And I also think that he's going to go up there, first time at 160. He's going to be big. He's going to be slow, and he's going to get knocked out probably faster.
Yeah. And
before we go, can I just say something real quick, please?
Go ahead.
I want to know everybody's going to be in D.C. April 1st. At the Armory to watch Adrian Broner and Ashley Theophane. That's also my 36th birthday, so I just want to tell everybody.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, you an April Fool's baby?
April Fool's baby, huh? That's what's up. Hey, well, yeah, you guys heard it. You know, she'll be covering that fight out there. And that should be another good fight. Real quick, Eric Morales, and I was going to say, by the way, David Hay, he actually bulked up in his last fight, and he actually looked pretty good. But, you know, David Hay, Amir Khan really isn't a David Hay, but, who knows. Eric Morales, I'll go ahead and let you close out, man. What do you think real quick about the matter of fact, go ahead and you said you want to talk about this poll, man. You still want to talk about the poll or what?
Oh yeah, there was a poll. Now, don't get us wrong. We definitely recognize there was a little hatred going on for old Eric Morales here. Was it the baldness, or was it that he fudged facts? It's undecided. We don't know. But I will say this: there was an idea we had. Counterpunch, the show that I got, and I thank all my 14 subscribers for tuning in. But on my show, Counterpunch, it's actually a two-man team. I have a buddy named Chris Jenkins, amazing fellow. He's incredible. He's very knowledgeable. Now, I recommended maybe we have the first interactive poll with the audience to say who should be on in true democratic form. And we have only 2 contestants because that's the way democracy works. So let's have a poll to see who should be on, Eric Morales or Chris Jenkins. Now, I definitely a little biased, so I'll go for myself in this one. However, we understand the people's frustrations, and if you choose, we will try to do it. Maybe not, but it'll be fun anyway.
Okay, we pretty much out of time. Once again, I want you guys to all understand, like I said, the whole purpose of us all coming together on this panel is so we can give you guys different perspectives. Okay, but that's pretty much all I got, guys. We will see you guys next week. On to the next one. It's the Nation, baby.